No, no, no. I changed. I think I recently. Yeah, yeah. I changed. I had it. Then I changed it. Then I changed it. I wanted to change it. Then also this is you haven't changed
Guys,
at all, right? I changed.
Just in case, here's the microphone and camera, reminding you. No, it always changes, but just.
Oh, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Manjitha. Jona. Yeah, Jona. I'm Zethra. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. So, you know anything? Yeah, actually, I have yeah, but I have but I want to improve myself more. Okay. Did you get something? No. I'm going right now. Thank you. And I'm studying okay. Not really. But my major. Your green brain, like the green brain. It's speech and text. Do you know that? It's done, right? No, it's like for 1 year and we have 4 months. So she was came in person to the for a few months, right? Yeah, it's my girlfriend. You're also working with it. Oh, that's so good. And are you a student or? Not. Yeah, I graduated. Graduated. I'm clear concert in the last months. That's and I okay, so students are coming in for a couple of times. Yeah, yeah.
Очень похожий на очень.
Long interview. Normally it's like once a month.
Я такая сейчас смотрю.
Just they don't only sure it wasn't something, yeah.
Are you scared people try? Why? All of them are like, oh, you're sure you're being nice to everyone? Yeah, there are.
Okay.
I have to.
Right.
Fully prepared. Значит, мое, да, значит, не так, что
Maybe. Yes. Should we start?
Yeah, I think we can start.
Is it for?
Yes, please go on.
Okay, hi everybody. It's Jona and Manjitha from Accenture. We both work in Accenture and we are just a student like you. We came here as a student and we completed, like, she completed her master's. Maybe she can tell her story. I'll tell mine. I still have 6 months more studies. I'm doing my master's in RNU. Is my RNU slash. So I'll be finishing up my master's and hopefully I'll be working in Accenture. So it's been 2 years that I've worked in Accenture by this month. Since October, it's been 2 years. And it's all God's grace. I've been good. So it's been good. I've been learning a lot and hopefully I'll be able to let you know all the basics of DevOps so that if you're more interested, you can and apply to Accenture just like we did. So we just started as a bootcamp student. There's something called bootcamp, which student can apply. Anyone can apply. So it doesn't mean you have to have anything to do with computer science. You have to have any basic knowledge of computer science. If you have, it's zero. Even if you have zero knowledge, you can apply to bootcamp. You'll have an entrance exam. You'll have English and you'll have technical exam. You'll have to pass, and they'll filter out students for the bootcamp. So once you're selected for the bootcamp, you'll have a month-long classes, or it depends on each sector, like whatever subject that you select. So we had a month-long session, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. We had to stay online and attend the classes, do the exercises, assignments they give us, and then from there they'll filter out 4 to 5 students to attend internship in Accenture. So the boot camp isn't paid, but the intern is paid. If you're selected as an intern, you'll come and do your internship for 4 to 5 months. And then when you land on a project, you become an employee. So that is the whole roadmap of boot camp and your way to Accenture as a student, as a person who has no knowledge about IT or not much experience in the working industry. It's for the beginners, beginner friendly. So I guess you can get inspired just by us because it was truly challenging to do the boot camp. We had to sit and do it every day, but we did it. And then intern was another struggle. We had to do a lot. And then now we are employees, so it's good. I hope you girls get inspired with the DevOps stuff. It's just the beginning stuff that I'm going to teach you what DevOps actually means. So we won't be doing any coding or nothing like that. We have everything ready made for our practical session, and it'll be helpful and less complicated for you girls so that it'll be easy to know what the tools are. Like, what are the tools that they're using for DevOps? Does anyone have experience in DevOps? Here, like, you know what DevOps actually means, or at least what DevOps means. Yeah. Maybe you can.
I'm not sure what it means, but I used it in one of my lectures like 2 years ago.
You used it as in?
I used it as
Like a topic?
No, I used the this Visual Studio Code.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll let you know more about all the tools that we're going to use as well. As we mentioned in the emails, the Visual Studio Code and the GitHub. So the Visual Studio Code is not just for DevOps. It is just a coding environment. You can do any type of coding and you have extensions there. You can try to connect one or more applications to VS Code and then work on it. So it's basically a coding environment. You can do Python, you can do Terraform, you can do anything you want inside Visual Studio. It's just a tool that makes it more easier, more, coder friendly. And it lets you know where are the errors are, the bugs are, how you can rectify them. So it's just a coding tool that makes your life easier as a developer. So if you're into developing, into coding, Visual Studio is something you'll learn more about. You can learn more about it. It has a lot of other features, but I'm not sure. I haven't gone through depth into all the features. As you learn, whenever you have time, you can learn more about the Visual Studio Code. So maybe you can start. Okay. Okay. I have the few pointers that today we're going to talk about. The first will be the DevOps for beginners from code to cloud. Then what is DevOps? Problem before what DevOps and the DevOps solution, key stages, key benefits of DevOps and core DevOps practices. Let's see. Okay, so welcome to DevOps for beginners. In this session, we'll learn how modern teams deliver software faster and more reliable. Understanding Terraform and CI/CD help to automate everything from cloud creation to code creation to cloud deployment. So by the end, you'll be able to deploy your code and create something inside cloud. Does anyone know what cloud is? Have you heard something called cloud? Okay, so cloud is something, we have three major providers, AWS, Google, and Microsoft, providing us cloud resources, cloud infrastructure, where you can host your websites and everything. You can have your storage website and you can have your databases and everything there in one environment. And if you know right now, before cloud, we had infrastructures like big data centers, which would have all your networks, all the cables, and all the boxes and everything in physical structure. But right now, since we have cloud, we don't need any infrastructure. So it's like cost cutting. So you'll just have to subscribe, pay to use your resources inside cloud. So it is hosted. It is hosted in all the regions, all the clouds. They all have their data centers, and you'll just have to host it from the region that is right next to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is what cloud is. So we'll be looking into it. So we are going to be using AWS. You know, the Amazon provides a cloud, so we'll be using Amazon cloud. We'll be deploying S3 bucket. S3 bucket is nothing but a bucket where you can put in stuff like all the files, all your images, all your videos. It's a storage bucket. So we'll be creating a storage bucket from scratch, like through code. We'll run it in a pipeline and then create a S3 bucket inside the cloud. So I hope it will be interesting. So that is what we'll be doing in our practical session. Okay. Oh, okay. What is DevOps? Okay, you can see as in the names, it's dev and ops. If you separate them, dev means development plus operations. So it is not just the tools. DevOps is not a singular tool. It is not a VS Code. It is not a GitHub. Everything together. It is a way of working where developers and operations collaborate on working together. So earlier we had just developers and then we had testers and then we have someone who does the maintenance. So it would be a three different team. But this DevOps made it into one single team. So it will be a team of 5 to 6. Two of them will be developers, two of them will be for testing, and two of them will be there for monitoring. So it makes the work more simpler without any miscommunications. So that is what the DevOps is a work of culture. It is not just one singular tool or a code for you to learn. So the goal is to build, test, and release software quickly while maintaining high quality and stability. DevOps focuses on automation, collaboration, and continuous improvement. So it automates your stuff. You'll just, as a developer, just have to write your code and then just push it to another tool which handles everything. It just does the testing, does the bug testing, tells you what error there is there in the code, and then deploys it into your production. So you don't need any people working on it. It is just automated. Just a one person can also be a DevOps engineer, can do all the steps together. You don't need a developer separately, a tester separately, and someone who monitors it. Everything can be done by one single person. So, okay, you see what problems we had before the concept of DevOps. So before DevOps, developers and operations team worked separately, often leading to confusion and delays. Developers would write the code and hand it off to the next team for them to test. But the developers in their computer, it would work. But when you're handing it off to another member who wouldn't have those certain tools or anything configured. So if you're running in a computer which doesn't have anything installed before, they will face issues. But the developer would tell that it works for me, but it doesn't work for you. It becomes a huge miscommunication and there will be a rivalry, not a good place to work in. So that happened a lot, which made delays, and the production and the client that you're working for would be waiting for a product, would be waiting for a website to be created, but there would be confusion within the team and the end goal wouldn't be met, and it's a whole lot mess. So that is when the concept of DevOps was involved. So this caused, miscommunication, downtime, and slow releases. Okay, what solution does DevOps bring in? So the DevOps bridges the gap between the development and the operation through collaboration and automation. So if it's a small team, 2 people develop, 2 people automate, and 2 people monitor, you talk to the other person. Like if you're going to automate, the other person handles another tool. So you can talk to the developer and see why does it have an error. See, this tool is showing me errors, and he can send it back to the developer because everyone will be working in the same tool and everyone will be seeing what the other person works. There'll be visibility. Good. Okay, so we'll see what the key stages in this DevOps concept is. DevOps is a continuous process, not a one-time event. It is a loop of continuous improvements. So as a developer, when you develop something, when you test it and send it to the production, you will have you'll have clients, you'll have people who are using the website that you created, and there'll be feedback. You'll get feedback. You'll say that the website isn't working properly, or they would need an extra feature, like a feature called, what to say, if there's a new cloth brand that is coming out, and if they have special bonuses offers on a particular day, that is a new feature. So if you want to let you know that there is something called sale going to happen, like the Black Friday sale, so that suddenly the website that you've been seeing every day changes and lets you know there is a Black Friday sale and you have to be here from this time to this time to purchase your items. So it won't be there in your website every time. It's only for that certain period of time that you'll see the Black Friday sale on your website. So that is a new feature that will go back to a developer. They'll be let to know that you'll have to create this feature inside the website. He'll work on it, they'll test it and put it back on the website. So DevOps makes that process easier for them to make more changes, delete something, or add new features as they like. Like every hour, every day, even there's a small change, they can do it batch by batch and build up a whole website with the DevOps. When it was previously before DevOps, it would take a whole 1 month to get it ready because developers will have their own idea, will have their own things to do. They'll set up a code. The testing team would test it in different scenarios, which the developer wouldn't know. So it would take months for them to bring out a certain thing inside the website. But with DevOps, since you have the communication, since they use the same tool, since everyone knows what everyone else is doing, it becomes an easier work. So the key stages are you have to plan, define requirements and tasks. Just as I said, the Black Friday sale on a website, you have to define the requirements. What is the requirements? How it should look like? Till when date to till when date? What time to what time? What products are on sale? Everything should be mentioned. The code is deployed in the application. Build, compile, and test automatically. So what this means is when the developer develops the code, it builds automatically in one single tool. If you run the code in this tool, it will build it and it will test it to see if there is any bugs, and it automates to deploy the production, like release and deploy, move the code to production, operate and monitor, keep the systems healthy. Feedback is used, monitoring data to improve. So these are the key stages in the DevOps, as I mentioned. So do you have any doubts? Like, were you able to follow what I told you right now? Is it understandable with the example that I gave you and everything? Yeah. Thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you understood something about DevOps. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Okay, maybe next slide. I'll ask questions, just the basic questions I'll be asking you guys. Okay, I can see everyone's listening to me. but I need to know it's registered.
Questions too.
No, I don't want it to be hard. I don't think I'm fast, right? It's good pace, right? Okay.
So girls, stay on your toes. Be ready.
Yeah. It'll be simple questions. Next. Okay, the major key benefits of having DevOps is quality. Continuous testing reduces bugs and failures. I told you that there is a tool where you can put your code in and it automatically detects all the bugs and lets you know the failures. If the code fails, it'll show you it failed. If it's successful, it'll show you it's successful. So you can have the quality. It wouldn't be depending on a human. It'll be depending on the tool. So a human can miss errors, but the tool, the AI, the code wouldn't miss any bugs or any errors. So that will be quality, 100% quality. The speed, it'll automate everything. It'll just take few seconds, few minutes maximum to test the whole code, to test out the bugs and everything. So automate everything from build to deploy. Like it's just a small code. Even the code writing becomes more simpler. You can write the code, deploy it. The whole process of creating a whole website would take about an hour. If you don't know coding, it would take about half an hour to 45 minutes. If you're well versed with coding and exactly know how your website should look like, it'll just take that much time because everything is done through automation. You have certain tools to do each step. So consistency, automation ensures every environment is identical. Okay. What this means is in the real world, in the project world, we have environments called the development environment, the testing environment, and the production environment. So if you're actually working in a company, every project would have a development, production, and a testing environment. Testing environment and the development environment is where the coders, the developers work, test on their code. And once everything is ready, they push it to the production. So there is a consistency within all the three environments is what consistency is. If you're using the same DevOps tools, it'll be, if you're running each DevOps tools in each environment, it would have the same structure in all the three environments, is what the consistency means. Collaboration. Developers and operators share the same goal. As I told you, it would be a small team and everyone would know what exactly the other person is doing. So they collaborate, they share the ideas, they communicate much better, and they'll be able to visibly see the developer's code to do the testing purposes. So collaboration is there and continuous improvement. So feedback loops, team helps to grow and innovate. So since it's a collaborative teamwork, everyone would have their own opinions and suggestions to make it more better. So it'll be more easier for the communication purpose and continuous improvement because DevOps helps us to build small stuff and deploy small stuff. It doesn't have to be a major one time to build the whole website. You can just start with the front page and then deploy it to production. You can just start with the next page, payment page, separately. You can break down the whole website and work small by small and makes it continuous improvement. If there's an improvement at the previous page, you can again make it and make the changes in the production. So that is the key benefits of DevOps. Okay, these are the core concept of DevOps. CI/CD. CI/CD is the continuous integration and continuous delivery. So that is what I meant, having a tool in between a developer and the production. So that tool in between is the CI/CD. It automatically tests your stuff. It tells you if there's any bugs, tells you if there's any errors, or is it a success you can push it to production. Everything happens here. So infrastructure as a code. So let's see the description. Automates testing and deployment when new code is added. So you have example tools, GitLab, Jenkins, GitHub Actions, and everything. So DevOps consists of a lot of different tools for each stage. So this is one stage, this one stage, one stage, one stage, one stage. And you can see how many tools for each stage. So DevOps can be done anyway. Today we'll be just seeing a small part of DevOps that we know, we have experience in our work culture. So that is not what DevOps is actually. You have lots of different tools that you can use from. We'll just show the important main tools and how it actually works. So DevOps mainly is a work culture. It is not a specific thing. It has a lot of different tools, lot of different stages that makes it the concept of DevOps. It's just a concept. DevOps is just a concept. So infrastructure as a code is manages servers, networks, and cloud resources using code. Okay, so servers and networks and cloud resources. So if you're hosting a website should be hosted inside a server. That server would have a large network. That is what I mentioned, stating that we have infrastructure of codes, the boxes and all the wires and everything. That everything would be inside the environment of cloud. So this is actually where you write a code. So we'll be learning about Terraform today, like the gist of Terraform, not a big deep dive, just a gist of what Terraform is, and we'll be using AWS as well as a cloud. So we'll be writing a Terraform code and we'll deploy it inside a pipeline, continuous pipeline, and it'll automatically create a resource inside our cloud. So that is what we're going to see. So for monitoring and logging, so every work that you do should have to be monitored because it's just a code. It can break anytime. It can have issues anytime. The server can go down and it can break. It can have a power story. Something can go wrong. So you would need a monitoring and logging every time. So it's a track app performance and errors in real time. So you have these different tools for tracking and monitoring. And version control. Version control is tracks changes in code and infrastructure. Okay, so we asked you to install GitHub, right? That is a version control tool. So when you're writing code, you'll be writing your code in your Visual Studio Code and push it into GitHub repository. So we can have one GitHub repository and all of you can push your code into the same GitHub repository and all of you can see everyone's code from that GitHub repository. If you're changing, like you pushed in a code, so and then later you thought there's something wrong or you wanted to modify something and add a new feature, you can again push the same file into the GitHub and it would be another version. You wouldn't lose your older version. I'm right, Manjitha? Yes. Okay. Just wanted to mention. So you will have another version that gets created. So that is how GitHub works. It's a version control tool. You won't lose your older version. What if your manager comes and asks, what was there before you created this new feature? You can see that your version is still there. It doesn't get deleted or it doesn't happen anything. It just creates another version, v1.v1, maybe .v2, version 2, it would create. So it's a version control. Applications, you have GitLab and GitHub. Containerization, packages, apps, so they run anywhere. Docker, Kubernetes, I think this is much more complicated. Dockers and it is a whole different topic. Maybe we can leave it at that. Yeah. Next. Okay, this is continuous integration. We saw that CI/CD, right? CI is continuous integration. So what it means is the developers merge code changes frequently into the shared repository. As I mentioned, the GitHub repository, right? They continuously commit their changes into the GitHub repository. Each merge triggers an automated build and test. So every time you run a code and commit it to the new tool, right? The developer is writing a code and commit it to a new tool, it automatically starts testing it to see if the code is good, and it doesn't have any errors. If it doesn't have any errors, it builds perfectly and tells it's ready for production. So that is what is continuous integration. This ensures new code integrates smoothly with the existing code base. So if I told you that the new feature that is going to be coming up for the same website, you'll have the same website code. Don't have to change anything. You'll just have to add this new feature. So it'll just merge the changes smoothly with the existing code base. CI helps catch bugs early before they reach production. So if there is an error in production, it'll be a huge mess. Everyone will be able to see the website all over the world. Whoever has internet can see the website. So before it goes to production, we have to catch the errors and bugs so that it doesn't go out and you lose your job eventually. So prevent that from happening, CI helps you. CI helps in catching bugs early before they reach production. Example, GitHub, CI, or Jenkins. We have different tools for CI. So we have GitHub, we have Jenkins, which runs your code every time you commit it. The commit word is nothing but pushing your code from your local laptop to another tool. is what commit means. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
For, like, running the tests, those tests are not written by the testers, right? It's
No.
written by the developers.
Yes. The tests that run inside these is not written by anyone. It is not written by a developer or a tester. That particular tool does the testing on its own. It just checks if your code that you give, if it's a Python code or a C programming code that you write, has any syntax errors, has any variables that is missing, code logical errors, something like that. It catches the errors. Because those tools would already know how that code should look like if it's safe to run in a production environment. So the testing that happens in these is not written by anyone. The tool does itself. So the testing environment right now is becoming a little less because we all have those tools that do the automation testing. So if you're into the field of testing or thinking of doing testing, we should learn more tools about automation testing than the manual testing, because us can make errors anytime. So we have certain tools who does the testing for you. So we have employees who go out of office and there's a whole another big layoff that happens, mostly testers, because you have those automation tools that already does it. So you just give it the logic, something, and it does the testing for you. So these testing tools does the testing on its own. You don't have to give any logic. It does it on its own.
So testers are not writing
Nothing.
codes for this
No.
tools? Okay.
No, right?
Jona, one more thing, I think, in CI/CD pipeline itself, in the YAML file, if we need, we can write a
We can.
single commands for running tests, something like that we can do. But I think it's not part of the role of a tester. So it's a part of maybe according to the requirement, maybe. Yeah,
The
it's some part-
verification. The
yeah.
verification done with the YAML file, or the verification is done
No,
by the Jenkins itself.
No, in the Jenkins itself, we can write a kind of YAML code for testing, let's say the front end code, whichever the code running in maybe in a container, we can just write a simple commands in the pipeline itself. Maybe that's another
What does
scenario.
that code do?
It actually tests the code of the whatever
Okay,
written.
so I guess you can. So we have that option to do it.
Yeah, we have option. I think watching it is a separate kind of not a tester will do that, I guess. So as a DevOps engineer, we can also add that command for that testing purposes. A whole tester's job is, I think, different thing. This one is different.
Okay. Yeah. So you have that thing. You can write a YAML file, because the code that you write needs certain things, so that the YAML file will help the Jenkins or the GitHub lab to run smoothly. So maybe next, let's see what CD means. Continuous delivery. Okay, so the CD takes CI further. Once code passes the test, it can be deployed automatically as well. So CI/CD is the one big tool. It'll test continuously, and when the test passes, you'll have to just click a button to deploy it in the production. So this happens in one single tool. You just have to write the code, push it to Jenkins or GitHub lab, and then it runs the test on the code. And then if it's all successful, it automatically delivers as well. So that deploys as well. So deployment becomes frequent, smaller, and safer. So you don't have to build a website altogether, write the code altogether for a whole big website with all the different pages. You can just do part by part, small by small, because the continuous integration and deployment makes it much simpler and faster. So it just takes about half an hour to 15 to half an hour for you to deploy the changes. So it doesn't mean you'll have to have the whole code ready and then come and then do it at one time, because this makes it much simpler. You can break down your work, and which makes it more, reliable and consistent, because you'll have the confidence that your code works, because it's just a small bit of code that you're confident of that can be pushed inside. Then the things that you're not as confident of, you can write and take your time to push it inside. So since we have CI/CD, there won't be much delay, and you can take your time to do your work. So teams can release new features daily or even hourly or even monthly. Example, pushing code to GitLab can automatically trigger a deployment to AWS. So if you're just pushing your code into GitLab, it'll automatically do the testing and everything and then deploy it inside the cloud environment. Okay, so infrastructure as a code. So this is the next topic. This is infrastructure as a code. There are many infrastructures as a code, but today we're going to see about Terraform, which is commonly used to build infrastructures. Infrastructures as in, what does infrastructure mean? Infrastructure is building a room, building a restroom, building a cafeteria. These are all infrastructures. Same kind of infrastructures are there inside cloud. So you can create your own network, you can create your own subnets, you can create your own storage bucket, you can create your own database, you can create your own server. A server also can be created inside cloud. So those resources inside AWS, the AWS cloud gives us so many resources which can be built through using infrastructure as a code. So you have a code to build an own storage. You have a code to build your own database. You have a code to build your own server. I mean, I told you server. Maybe a network, a whole big network that connects regions, different regions. You can connect Stockholm, connect France network. You can connect from where else? From Estonia. You can build everything using a small code and deploy it inside the cloud. So that is how the infrastructure as a code helps you. So with IAC, we define infrastructure using code, making it repeatable and version controlled. So once if someone writes a code in Terraform code to build an EC2 instance is a server to build a whole server. If someone has a code, that code can be used by anyone here. It's the same structure, the same code can be used by n number of people to create your own servers. So it is repeatable and version controlled. So Terraform is a popular IaaC tool that supports multiple cloud platforms. Cloud platforms as in AWS, Azure, you have Google, you have many other private clouds as well. These three are the major industry-oriented clouds. With one command, Terraform builds this server automatically. So if you see, this is an example code to build a whole server where you can host anything. You can host your own website there, you can create a new project and everything inside this one big server. And the code is only this much. It just tells you what resource. It's an AWS server that's going to be built. You give your server name, you give the server's image. Image as in, it is the OS. You want it to be in, like, you're literally creating a operating system, like a website. I mean, a server, not a website. You can host your website inside that server. So you're giving its image. Image meaning it can be Windows, it can be Mac, it can be Linux, anything. The image that you give, your server will have it already. And the instance type. So the server type, there are different types of servers. For inside AWS, you have the free tier EC2 servers, you have the paid servers that will cost you a little more, like faster maybe. So you have different types. So you just give what the name of the server, what the OS is going to be, and what the type is going to be, and then it builds your server. So this is the code to build and server EC2 instance inside AWS cloud. That's it. That's just a small code that can be used by anyone, and you can all build your own servers inside cloud with your own name. So that is how it is. And with Terraform, we have lots of different codes for each resources, and we have a website. We have certifications for Terraform. You can learn and write your certification and be well versed with Terraform, because cloud is becoming much more industry demand. It's good that you learn cloud, Terraform, so that you get more opportunities. DevOps in cloud. So today we're going to learn about AWS, like do a practical on AWS. So most DevOps pipelines run on cloud platforms like AWS. Azure is from the Microsoft, and GCP is from the Google Cloud provider platform, I guess. AWS provides scalable infrastructure that works perfectly with automation tools. Automation tools, as in I told you, the GitHub, the Jenkins that does the continuous integration and delivery, right? So it merges with all of that. It works together with Terraform, with the CI/CD tools and everything, so that it is seamless. You won't have any issues or errors while deploying it to production. Using Terraform, you can create AWS components like VPC, subnets, EC2 servers with code. Just as I mentioned earlier, with Terraform, you can do that. So this makes infrastructure setup faster, consistent, and reusable. So writing simpler codes to create your whole environment makes it more faster and consistent. You wouldn't have any errors if your code is right. If the code is wrong, you'll know that the code is wrong. It will fail. It wouldn't create anything at all. So only when your code is right, it's going to create a resource, and it's going to be much faster and consistent and reusable. It can be reused to create how many ever servers you want. So example, launching an entire network and a server in minutes with one script. Okay, so Terraform. Okay, we're going to be doing more of Terraform, the code that we're going to be running for the first lab. So Terraform needs configuration files and creates matching resources in AWS. So I think you remember in the previous slide, we had a small set of code that kind of creates the server. Like that, we have configuration. There are different files in Terraform, configuration file, and you'll have resources file and everything that creates matching same resources inside our cloud. So we have 4 different commands inside Terraform. The major commands for Terraform init is to initialize. It would initialize and connect with the cloud provider that you need. So if you're using Azure, it would connect with the Azure. So you have configuration files giving what environment you want, what version of that environment, like AWS has its own version, Azure has its own version. So there'll be major updates, and all these clouds will have developments, right? Each cloud will also have its development. So all versions will be there. What type of version, which cloud, AWS or Azure, it will initialize to that provider. The clouds are called the providers. They provide your infrastructure, so they're called providers. So to initialize the provider, Terraform plan is like preview upcoming changes. So you write your whole code. You're not exactly sure what it's going to create. You're not exactly confident as to, is it going to create my resource? So what you do is you just give Terraform plan so that it will just read your code and let you know that in the output, it will let you know that what are the resources that is going to be created. So it will let you know that 3 resources are going to be created. This resource will be created with the code that you just wrote. So that is what this Terraform plan. If you type after you finish your code, just type Terraform plan in your terminal. It will show you what resources are going to be created. It just shows you the plan of your infrastructure. So Terraform apply will, after seeing your plan, like it's all good. If that is what you want to create inside your cloud, if it is all good, it's good to go for your own project, then you give the Terraform apply, which creates and updates the resources inside the cloud. So if you're good to go with the plan, you apply. So that's like the blueprint, and this is like applying the changes. So Terraform destroys, deletes all the resources. So you have your code, you just ran your plan, you just applied the changes to your resources, and you no longer need your cloud's S3 bucket, the storage or the database that you just created. You want to delete it. You don't have to go to the console, to the AWS, and manually go delete it. You can just delete it with the same code that you wrote, right? It will just, since it's already connected with your cloud, since it's initialized and connected with your cloud, it knows what are the resources that are there inside that the code created. So Terraform will already know, I created these resources and she wants to destroy them. So it will go through the same resources and delete whatever that is created by Terraform. It wouldn't touch the other resources. It'll only delete the resources that you created using Terraform code. So these are because it makes it more simpler, more easy to clean up. Like you don't want certain resources. Cloud is a very expensive tool. So if you're running some server, having an S3 bucket or a database that you no longer need, you'll have to delete it, or else you'll be paying every month. You'll have to pay subscription every month. So it's a huge thing that you are good in cleaning up your resources from if it's no longer needed. So Terraform makes it easy so that if you're deploying your whole environment using the Terraform code with one single line Terraform destroy, It will destroy all the 10, 20, or just 2 resources that you created using your Terraform code. So these are the 4 major commands for Terraform that you would need to know. Terraform keeps a stale file to track what's been built. This is the state file that keeps a track of everything that gets built by Terraform. I told you, right? When giving Terraform destroy, it should know what it got created, right? How does it know that this code created these resources? Like you'll have 10 buckets, and in that, only 3 buckets would have been created using your Terraform. So when giving Terraform destroy, it should not destroy everything there. It should just destroy those 3 buckets. So this is the state file that keeps tracks of everything, all the resources that are getting created using Terraform, so that it's safe, so that it will get deleted safely. Example code to cloud in 3 simple steps. Okay, I hope everyone understood. Do you have any doubts?
Oh, are you confused? Or
Yeah.
If you have any questions, maybe feel free to
Maybe
ask.
you can ask few questions.
There are no any stupid
Should
questions.
point out, or I should ask you, what does DevOps mean? Simple. I guess you should have an answer for what DevOps is.
It's like a working not infrastructure, but the environment of like a workspace where like development of a code and testing and operations and production, everything is like in one place. It's like a term for the whole process.
Yes, DevOps is a process. DevOps is a whole working process. It's not just one singular tool or one singular code or anything. It's just the process of how it's going from code to cloud, like how the whole thing works in a small setup and how it is a much faster and reliable process. Okay, nice. So what are the tools we'll be using today? Can anyone? No, not you.
GitHub and views.
Yeah. Answer. Yeah. One more. Yes. Yeah.
By the way, about that question, you just mentioned that cloud services are expensive. How did you manage to get us credentials and access to those?
So we have free tier. We have free tier in AWS. It gives us 100 points or something for free trial.
Usually gives 120 credits.
Credit.
Or when you are creating some kind of resources, or if those resources are related to free tier account, then it's obvious we can create that
we're
safely.
basically able to make it on our
Yes,
own,
of
right?
course.
Yes.
Just to make the process easier,
Yes.
you just did it for us.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Because since AWS is new for everyone, we did not want you to create your own account, have the free trial, and waste it during the DevOps session. You can learn AWS right now, and if you're more interested, you can create your own AWS account in the free tier. But you'll have to be sure it changes from free tier to the paid version quickly. So should be sure about that and delete all your resources. So today you're so many people here. So you'll be creating your resources inside her AWS and my AWS. And the ones that we're going to create, we'll have to delete them as well. So we'll have to clean up. So the one thing that you'll have to learn about cloud is create, delete, create, delete, create, delete for your own good, for your own bank and for your own expenses. So you'll have to just create, delete if you're learning new things. If it's your own, in your own company, if you're working for a client, it's their thing, they'll pay. So if you're learning on your own, self-learning, you just have to create, delete, create, delete. Never forget to delete. So that is what. So we'll be creating in our accounts today, and we'll be showing you how to delete it as well. We can clean up. Okay, then I guess that is it, right? Any other questions? Yes.
About the OS of the servers,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't matter which OS you choose. Maybe if you choose the Windows for the newer versions or the older versions, or iOS or Linux.
Yes,
does
it
mess
doesn't
with the
matter.
configuration?
It doesn't matter, but it is paid, right?
Yeah.
Images.
It depends on your requirement as well. So most of the time we are using Linux servers because it is the actually best OS for most of the servers rather than using Windows. So
Windows on Mac,
also you can use Windows as well, you can choose it. I'm not sure if Windows is allowed in free tier account.
Yeah,
Usually
there's
that's
another thing.
required
So
subscription.
yes, in the free tier, you are restricted to certain resources, certain type of images for your servers. So it's your requirement and it's how you create it. So there's nothing, it is different. Mac is different from Windows, Linux is different from Mac. So you have the difference, but it depends upon what exactly you want the server for, what is going to happen inside the server, and everything. The cost and everything should come into play when you're going to create any resource inside it. Yes, yes. The same Terraform code, right? The same code that you write, you can use it to different clouds, but the naming convention, the names of certain resources would be different in the clouds. Like AWS would call the servers as EC2. It's called EC2 instance. What does EC2 mean? Like the full form?
Elastic container.
Computer. EC2, C2, yeah, Elastic Container Compute, I guess. So the servers are called EC2. So in Azure, it would be calling something else. The servers would have a different name. For cloud, it would, so it's the same structure, but the namings would differ. So the Terraform code, you have a whole website and a documentation that helps you build it. It's much easier and simple if you see the Terraform's website. They have the HashiCorp website where you can see, you can just give what provider, what cloud you're using. Like it is used for 100 different clouds. It's not just the three that I'm mentioning, like the AWS, Azure, and the Google. You have 100 different cloud providers, private cloud providers, and everywhere you can use Terraform. It's just the naming convention, and they have documentations. You can just copy paste their code, put it in your VS Code, and then run it. Don't have to write anything. You have it there already in the documentation. So don't have to think much about it. You'll just have to learn how to navigate through those documents. Like you'll have to literally read through the documents for you to understand which part of code you want to use. So that is easier if you use the documentations. For the cloud, AWS cloud, you have documentations. For Terraform, you have documentations. So you just have to know and learn how to use them. So it is already there for you. That is the most biggest thing, that it makes it more simpler and most fast, because you already have those documents for you to help. You just have to have an idea about how the code works, or the basic simple logic of code errors like syntax errors, like if you missed a semicolon, if you missed a bracket. So you have to know the basic knowledge and just read through the documents, and which would guide you to create all the resources inside cloud. So
Sure,
anything else?
yeah, I just shared this AWS environment for you.
This is
just
how
get
the
started.
console looks like. AWS console. I guess we would have sent you the credentials, and what was the other thing?
Console login plus AWS CLI login.
Yeah, console. Yeah, you can log into this. They can, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the Excel
So-
sheet itself, there is a kind of link mentioned, so you can just go there and add your credentials. So probably during the first login, you have to change your password. So then you will be able to see this kind of interface.
Yeah, you'll be able to see the UI. This is the AWS website UI. And
So-
these are the different resources. Main resources are the EC2 servers. This is the IAM role S3 buckets, the storage bucket, have code pipelines inside AWS itself. You have a pipeline. So everything inside AWS, if you want to do the whole DevOps, you can do it here itself. You can write your own code, then have your own pipeline here, and then run it on the EC2 server. So everything can be done inside AWS itself, but we are going to use different tools so that you'll have an idea of all the different tools that are around, because not every project or not every company will be using the AWS cloud. They'd be using Azure, they'd be using Google, they'd be using their own private cloud. But these tools that we're going to learn and try out today are the basic, most powerful tools, like most commonly used tools to do this whole DevOps and like structure. So these are the major
You can see
applications,
like lots
tools,
of
resources.
services.
Resources
You
and
can see
services
in the
like
left side.
containers have database, you have Internet of Things. everything. You can just
great.
create your own AWS account and just play around and see.
Yeah.
And remember to delete whatever you can. So right now we are in the region Stockholm. So Stockholm is the closest. We don't have one in Riga. We have one in Stockholm. So we get connected to the network in Stockholm. So they have data centers, right?
Yes, yes. You know, in AWS, we have regions. Regions means a particular geographic location where those data centers are locating at. And these things are actually the, what we call, available zones. Yes, availability zones. Yes. And these are the kind of data centers. So not only just, let's say the Singapore one, it doesn't mean like just one data center.
We have these
Yes.
three availability zones, right?
Yes, yes. So it has too many data centers inside this Frankfurt or Ireland. So these are the availability.
We don't
zones.
have one in Riga, so we'll have to connect one that is closest to us. That
So
is
it will be faster.
faster, yes. For the reason for it to be faster, we just connect to the one that is closest to our geographical location. Okay, I guess we can start with practical. If you have any other questions
Or we
doubt.
we should give any break.
We can have a break if you
Mm.
want. You can ask questions during this break. We can have, what do you think? 10-minute break or 15?
15.
Yeah,
15
15.
will be fine.
Let's meet then here. Actually, let's have something like 17 minutes. So let's meet here at 5:10. 5:10.
So it's happening.
And after that, we'll have the practical part, right?
Yes.
I hope you
For the installation as well.
and I also
I will maybe keep the Zoom a little bit so it shows around.
How does it work? So you just basically install or configure those tools in your chest,
Just during
whatever
few hours,
based
yeah.
on working, and then you just work from there, like it's like doing application.
Or collaboration with your team, because we collaborate with the technical, you know, like the company and organizations, you can add you there and keep you there as well. So if you event something else, you can share it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Members.
I will be just.
You see the result I am. I am.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, the I am. That is very good. User's name. So I've given user's name. Yeah.
So you can see me right now there. If you like look for it, right?
Yeah. Let me show you.
Когда я вот так делаю?
Вот когда вы так делаешь, меняется некоторые камеры.
А когда я вот так делаю?
Везде в каждом скрине есть твой адрес.
Окей. А когда вот так?
То же самое.
Okay, interesting. Я просто, I'm trying to figure it out how to make it look better.
Они там двигаются, то появляется эта камера,
Just like I don't want that.
I've been using AWS for 1 year now, so I've made a lot of it.
some time ago, I had access to Azure. Because my mind was bombing, like, because I never was familiar with the tech stuff and everything, and I think it was Accenture who was performing something similar to the bootcamp about their cloud.
Yes.
So they were using Azure, so they gave us some access like you did right now. And
Yeah.
only now I'm starting to understand what happened.
Yeah.
Microsoft actually kind of for beginners. Exactly.
Azure is a little bit more complicated. So you are part of our account. So we created all of you as a user inside our AWS account, so that you will be able to log in same account.
Yeah.
A lot of people is logging out one single account. That's what is happening. You know, I went with the flow. Even they have kind of that. I think
And then you go.
It's okay. About the testers, any kind of thing. What you said is correct. But we can give instructions. Yeah, but how to test it. So, yeah. That I don't know. I haven't used it. Yeah.
Have to go like once or twice a week and I'm like, you should take care every day, like, for example, same again, I'm like. I should fully right. Like, what's your weekend for like the others? But you go home and complain that you don't have anything to do.
Yeah, and then.
Without the guy signature on something. Like.
They've read the passport.
Not this, other Accenture or okay, this way now. What Accenture is that? Credentials. I want to do what?
Oh, I was gonna say like the. Is one when I joined, is it like for?
Thank you. So.